What's up YouTube, it's Matthew here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some realtors that were recently rejoicing or celebrating about some laws and regulations that's coming in place in their state requiring licensing and fees in order for wholesalers to continue on wholesaling in their state. So if you all find any value from this video, be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, and to share this video if you find it interesting. So we talked about these laws and regulations before. You heard it from other YouTubers who are in the wholesale real estate genre, just different states and cities requiring wholesalers now a license in order to wholesale. And so one of the states I'm going to cover is Oklahoma. So the thing is with these laws and regulations, I know on YouTube it seems like it's happening right now, but they still have to go through a process. So for example, in Oklahoma, this regulation, this law has not been passed yet. It's going to be officially passed in November of this year. So till this date, wholesalers, if you're in Oklahoma, don't worry, you can still wholesale without a license, but it is something that you have to start thinking about, if you want to continue on wholesaling past that November date, right? You don't want to just come up to November and then you need a license, because some license may require some months or a few weeks of training or studying in order for you to get your license. But I just want to let you all know, when you hear these laws and regulation, it takes time until it comes into full effect. And so let's just break down this article that I recently read about this in Oklahoma. So right here, you all, we have Oklahoma realtors celebrate regulation of real estate wholesaling, right? Like, are they having some sort of party or something? Like, yo, relax. But anyways, they have some pictures right here. Hey, shout out to this realtor. Get your snacks. Holly. Okay, so realtors in Oklahoma, they meet like every year at Capitol Hall. They usually lobby for laws and regulations that promote property rights and other issues, especially pertaining to their specific field. Making sure they're good. Essentially, making sure they can win over all the competition and make the most amount of money. and so one of the accomplishment, you heard it before on other YouTubers channels and probably mine, is the HB 1148 law that was passed, which regulates real estate wholesaling. So this event was organized by the Oklahoma Association of Realtors, which was asked for the regulations, and it goes into effect November 1st. So that's the official date in November. So November 1st. So if you all are virtually wholesaling in Oklahoma or you're in Oklahoma, that's the date. All right. So so it's sponsored by one of the like a representative or Republican, uh, requires wholesalers to hold a real estate license. And of course, they go over the pros and cons. And let's just break down this article to see what they're saying. So they say wholesaling is something was when someone enters a contract to purchase real estate and immediately attempts to resell it for a profit. Yeah, okay. Their interest in that real estate contract to different purchasers prior to closing on the property. So, I'm going to try to be non-biased, even though I do wholesale. But, they do have legitimate grounds to require this with their state, because there are people that, some wholesalers that get into contracts all the time and they just renegotiate last minute, or they just cancel like 90% of their contracts, which is not the right thing to do. If you put something on the contract, you want to close it. Okay. And they say the wholesaler often has no intention of actually purchasing the property and never takes title to the property. That can and cannot be true sometimes. Sometimes wholesalers still put properties under contract that they want to buy, they want to flip, they want to hold as a rental themselves. So that's the gist of it. But as you can all tell, this article is very heavily, more geared to the real estate agent, the realtor. But yeah, so it says if the wholesaler cannot find another buyer to sell the contract, the wholesaler would typically back out a contract without closing, right? Wholesalers will publicly market the properties as if they actually own the property, when they only have a contract to purchase the property. So hey, props to them for calling out the bad wholesalers. But then again, I don't think they're shedding light on the business as a whole. Props to them to breaking this down and everything, but I think there's some suggestions and wording that they could have worked on, because I do believe that not all wholesalers back out of contracts even though they can't find a buyer. You know, for me personally, I actually um, witnessed this. I actually went through this. So I had a property on a contract. My buyer backed out last minute, and my seller was moving things and everything. And so I ended up buying the property myself because I couldn't just say, "Hey, we're backing out of the deal," when this person is like moving a few states away. So I ended up buying the property myself, which took a good amount of chunk of change for me at that time to buy that property. And so I bought it. And so when they say, oh, the wholesaler would typically back out of the contract without closing, that doesn't happen all the time. Yes, I do believe in some cases you can do that. Like if you find title issues, there's something else like you didn't know about the property, like the seller tells you, hey, by the way, there's a foundation issue or something else like that. Or if like you were totally off with your numbers, that's why it's so good to know your numbers. Then I can see why someone would cancel out of a contract. And even not even looking at wholesalers, people do this all the time when you're buying a house from Zillow or from the MLS. Like retail buyers back out of deals too for whatever reason. I was talking to a realtor about a duplex, and he was saying that one of the buyers backed out because he was scared of the Biden administration. So like if someone, a retail buyer, can make an excuse like that, why don't they attack them, But I understand, wholesalers, there, showing that they're professional and real estate investors, so they are more responsible for different things. But another thing is that they say they will publicly market the properties as if they actually own the property. Legally, you're not supposed to do that, right? We usually put, hey, in our emails, or if we're advertising on Facebook or Facebook Marketplace, we put, hey, we're selling our equitable interest, or we're selling an assignable contract, things like that. And we make it 100% clear. You guys could probably look at my videos on how I explain how to market your property and how to put that right verbiage in your posts, in your email, in order for you to comply with the laws to saying, hey, we're selling the contract, we're not selling the house, all right? And so them saying that, they're not showing the audience the full story, because I think most wholesalers are actually on top of this. Like they don't want to mess with the law with this, right? And especially like if you're selling to a buyer, you don't want the buyer to think that you actually own the property, right? Okay, so this practice is often indistinguishable from the activities an Oklahoma real estate agent engages in when marketing a property for a seller, yet the wholesaler is currently not required to hold Oklahoma real estate license. So yeah, so these are the different bullet points they went over on why they're requiring it. So provides protection to the public and accountability for buyers and sellers in real estate transactions for the largest financial transactions individual will make. Yes, I 100% agree with that. That's one of the biggest decisions people will make. Like we need protection and accountability for that. So I can agree with that. And then they say requires individuals to engage in wholesale activities to pass national and state real estate license and examination. So, okay, cool. I understand that if they want to do that, no problem. Like if it happens in my state, I may just get my license. But it's like, okay, are you going to do that with fix and flippers? Are you going to do that with people who hold rentals? Like, how far does this go? You know what I mean? So, yeah. Okay, so next it says requires individual engaged in wholesale activity to pass a basic background check and reduce opportunities for harm to the public. I understand the protection of people, like, people are going in people's houses, right? You want that protection. Um, but just like fix and flips, there are people who probably made mistakes in the past and they have a new beginning and they can do construction, they can do fix and flips, or they can do wholesaling. Um, but if that's a requirement that we have to have, so I'm kind of half and half with that. Like I understand it, but at the same time, people can change, right? You always want to offer that for people. and it provides oversight by the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission to investigate consumer complaints at no cost to the public, provides a free avenue for the public to resolve disputes and claims that otherwise cannot be addressed by litigation, which is costly to the public and difficult to resolve. Okay. Okay, I actually like this. So they're actually putting responsibility over to the real estate commission to investigate. So instead of like requiring like the wholesaler to, I don't know, provide some sort of legal framework, they say, hey, if the seller has any questions, they can come to this body and act. So I actually agree with that. I think that's pretty decent. So yeah, you all. So that's Oklahoma. Realtors celebrating. Look at them partying. Look at it. They got their high heels on. They got their smiles on, lobbying, and different things. But yeah. And then another thing I quickly want to mention was that I did post a video about um, which it was Philadelphia. They were requiring a law, and now Pittsburgh, the other major city in Pennsylvania, was requiring that. So this county right here are now motion. Now they put to motion um, real estate and wholesalers on a state level to allow police them by requiring wholesalers to operate with a license to provide more disclosures to sellers and transactions. So it's basically what Pittsburgh did. Philadelphia did. Now Pittsburgh is doing it. So it's crazy, you all. But yeah, I hope you all really enjoyed this video, just breaking down what's happening with wholesaling real estate, what different avenues you should start taking and what you should consider when you're wholesaling, and even like the type of markets, because maybe you don't want to start off in Oklahoma, right? And different things like that. So once again, you all, these things take time, because I think Oklahoma, they talked about it since like 2019 or something like that. But over the past 2 years, I mean, you weren't required a license. So just take that into account. But you probably should start thinking about it right now if you're Oklahoma, if you want to be good by November 1st. All right, you all. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace.